You went into politics, which seems unlikely and improbable. How did you think that those two worlds could coexist?
Well, my first career actually was in broadcasting, and I was in radio and did some television work, and then went into the pastorate, and then politics, and now kind of full circle back to broadcasting. So one of these days I'll find something I can do well.
Politics, big steps today. You've got Obama with the federal pay freeze and deficits, lame duck Congress. Thoughts on all of that?
Well, first of all, I think the pay freeze is a smart idea. It's not going to solve the deficit crisis, but it is a symbolic move and an important one to show that Washington is getting serious. I think we've needed these kind of actions for a long time. One of the things that this day ought to scare the living daylights out of us is what's going on in North Korea. This is a really very tenuous situation, and it's made worse by the fact that we don't really have the stick as a country anymore to do a whole lot about it other than beg the Chinese to intervene. And it shows what happens when we don't understand that the real strength of America comes in being strong, not weak.
You know, we look at the politics of deficit spending. We also look at the unemployment benefits that are coming up tomorrow for extension, and who knows? You know?
Well, one of the things people need to understand, I mean, I don't know of anyone who begrudges unemployment benefits, but if you continue to extend them without some type of requirement, either for ongoing maybe public work, doing something to get something. If you just indefinitely extend money and payment for people to not work, what you're going to do is to create a society in which people are being paid to not work. It doesn't take long before, why would anyone work when they get paid to not work? And who's going to pay for that? All the people who are left working. As Margaret Thatcher once said, brilliantly, the problem with socialism is that sooner or later you run out of other people's money. And that's what we have to start worrying about. When does that happen in this country?
So what should they do tomorrow?
Well, what they ought to do is, if they're going to pass anything that extends unemployment, which I'm not sure that beyond 91 weeks is necessary, 91 weeks, that's 2 years. 2 years. There's got to be some stipulation that if you're going to get a check, you show up every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and you will either pick up trash, or you will tutor in a school, or you will be a cross guard at an intersection, but you will do something from 8 in the morning till 4 or 5 that afternoon, like everybody else who's getting a check. And if you decide, I don't like this job, as my dad always taught me, son, be grateful for the job you have. If you don't like it and can find a better one, take it. Until then, give your employer the best you got.
What do you have to say to California Republicans who have a 12% deficit with registered voters?
With the deficit?
In terms of their 12%, there's 12% less Republicans in the state of California.
Keep talking common sense. The best way to make a Republican is let the Democrats rule without any kind of counterbalance. The one thing the Republicans don't ever want to do is to act in such a way that there's no distinction between them and the Democrats. True Republicans ought to always act with a sense of fiscal responsibility, with a sense of commitment to the things that are about Republican. More limited government, more local government, lower taxes, not higher taxes, mothers and fathers raising kids, not governments raising our kids for us. That resonates with people, and sooner or later I think folks come around to that.
There are two things I want to ask you. One is a question my cameraman just asked me.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks. What do you think about this thing?
Whoever in our government leaked that information is guilty of treason. And I think anything less than execution is too kind a penalty. They have put American lives at risk. They put relationships that will take decades to rebuild at risk. And they knew full well that they were handling sensitive documents. They were entrusted. And anyone who had access to that level of information was not only a person who understood what their rules were, but they also signed under oath a commitment that they would not violate it. They did. And I believe they have committed treason against this country, and any lives they endangered, they're personally responsible for, and the blood is on their hands. And in addition to their reckless irresponsibility, an act of criminal intent, I think the New York Times has shown an utter reckless disregard for any responsible journalism by printing something that they know that they obtained in a way that is not appropriate.
Will you let us know about your political aspirations?
No. Well, honestly, at this point, I don't know what those may be. To be honest with you, I've not ruled out another run for the presidency, and I will give it serious consideration and am. but it's not something that I have decided, and probably won't until well into next year. But the good news is I have done it before, so I know what I'd be getting into it. The bad news is I've done it before, so I know what I'd be getting into.
But the door's still open.
The door is very much open, absolutely. But there's a lot to consider, and I know what I'd be putting myself and my family through, and
Again.
a lot of consideration there.
It has to be interesting, though. I mean,
Or the last time out, I was pretty much an asterisk in the polls. Nobody knew who I was. I went out without funding. But the one thing I did learn is that it's not smart to jump into a pool unless there's water in it. So, what I got to find out is, will there be financial and organizational support that would be strong enough that would give me some reason to believe that I could carry it to the finish line. A lot to consider. But this country's in a lot of trouble right now, too, so that's something else to think about.
Last question.
In terms of lifestyle, you lost 110 pounds, type 2 diabetes. It's the holidays. Any advice?
Run. In every way. Run from the food, run from other things.
And run for office.
Yeah, that'll do it to you. No, that'll kill you. I think that the most important thing is to enjoy things, but do it in moderation. And, the easiest thing for me, sometimes it's hard for people, but I'm not as addicted to sugar as I am other things. And so I try to leave more of the sweets alone whenever possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all for coming out.
Really appreciate it.